Ready? Ready? Are y'all ready? Cause it's rare talk. It's rare talk. Tabby, Tassie. Hey, it's rare talk. Rare, authentic, real experiences. That's what it is.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another fabulous episode of It's a Rare Talk.
Hey
We
y'all,
are here with,
Tabby.
and I'm Tassie. But listen, tonight it is a special episode. Oh yeah, we gonna introduce you. Tonight is a special episode. So normally Ty B and Ty C get to introduce the guests, but tonight Ty C has the opportunity to introduce two amazing people. And so we have the co-host tonight as being one of the special guests on the show. And so we are excited to have Ty B and my cousin Joe, better known as the Bowdens, right? So we are excited. Listen, Joe, I don't have to really give Ty like this special introduction, but we're going to give you one. Shout out to you. Welcome to your first appearance, I'm sure, of many on It's a Rare Talk, where everything is a rare, authentic, real experience. And so I'm excited. I would say little cousin, but I'm only a little cousin to Joe. I'm the big cousin to Ty. Ty really thinks she's the big cousin Joe, but she's not. Okay. Ty is really like the little cousin, but I'm excited actually to be here with both of you on tonight. And we're going to be talking about the topic seasoned marriages, right? And so cousin, you know that when we was actually, coming up with our different episodes that we were going to be using for our first season, this was one that came up like quickly. And so what better set of individuals to have on the show as we're talking about seasoned marriages than you two, right? And so I'm excited because I've had the opportunity throughout these 22 years, right? I remember the wedding day and I'm still in y'all's life now, and so it's been a wonderful opportunity for me to actually see you two still on this journey, still saying yes, still rocking it out, still being an example for young couples today, right? And so marriage, heavy topic, weighty topic, sensitive topic, hard topic, challenging topic, but loving topic, right? And so that's what we want to talk about tonight. So once again, Ty B, you're on the other side now, right? But welcome the Bowdens to the show. And so, like I said, we're going to be talking about seasoned marriages. What do we mean by seasoned marriages? We mean, not that we downplay somebody who's been married a year, 6 months, 5, you know what I mean? But seasoned marriage is somebody, that has survived the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Because a lot of times we get caught up on that big wedding day, we get caught up on all of those things. But what about the other things that come along with it? And sometimes it doesn't even have to be all deep. It could be things such as learning how to communicate, right? Learning how to share, learning how to be kind, so little things like that play a major factor, as you walk through your journey of being a married individual. So once again, I'm excited to have you here. So listen here, I get to ask all the questions tonight. So listen, Joe, welcome to the show, right? And so we know that y'all have been married for 22 years, okay? And so you two are really not that old, right?
No.
Cousin, how old are you?
I'm 44.
You're 44. Cousin Joe, how old are you?
49.
Okay, so really you're not that old, right? And so we know that you just celebrated an anniversary of 22 years. Like, shout out to God first and foremost. Like, yes, shout out to God first and foremost, you know what I mean? But I want to say shout out to you because when I hear 22 years, y'all, I hear commitment. Right? And so my first question goes to my cousin Joe. So 22 years, okay? So that takes y'all back to like being in your 20s, right? And so at that age, I'm sure, the way that you view things now versus back then, it's like totally different. You know what I mean? And so cousin Joe, tell me, how did you know that Ty was the one?
Well, it was, I'm going to say this, and she was fishing, y'all. So she was fishing. She threw a line out there, and I caught it. And when I heard the conversation about her dreams and stuff like that, it was intriguing, and all the curiosity, and I was like, man, she's a dreamer, and I never really got it like that from any individual before her. So I was like, man, this is fresh, it's new, and it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Listen, that's good right there, because what you're telling me is like a woman with some goals, right? A woman with goals, despite of having a commitment with a man, because she was, of course she wasn't married prior, you know what I mean? Right. But she already has some stuff. She already had some goals in mind that she wanted to pursue. And so therefore, when you had a conversation with her, she already knew she has something to be able to present.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's big.
That's exactly right.
And so when he's talking about fishing, listen, he was playing ball. I seen him, he seen me. And I was doing music at the time. And I was like, oh, I don't want him to be in my video. But I didn't go and tell him. So I didn't go and, introduce myself and throw myself on him or nothing like that. I had told somebody, I'm like, I want him to be in my video. And the guy told him, and the guy gave him my number. I didn't even tell him to give my number. He gave him my number, and he called that night. Didn't you call that night? Okay, all right. Okay.
Cousin, don't let him play you, cousin.
He's not playing me. No, but he called that night, and we really had a good conversation. It was long too, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very long.
But I mean, and I'm glad he pointed that out. That says a lot. A lot of times people don't have conversations. They just wham bam and you're done. We had a really good conversation, talking about life and what we wanted. So
that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I think that they'll see, and sometimes people may make that mistake of not putting those things on the line in the beginning, or sharing those things in the beginning, right? And then that just takes it into like a whole different direction. But I love how y'all shared that y'all went in knowing what each other's dreams and goals were. How long did y'all date before you said I do?
So let me see, we met in 94, 95. We got married in 2000.
Okay.
I wasn't one that I wasn't equipped to be a 10-year, 15-year girlfriend. That wasn't me. Like, I'm like, when you with somebody and the things you like about them, it don't take all that. It don't take a whole bunch of years to decide, if you want to be with that person and get married. And like, I had gotten saved, and you know how that is, that dynamic before we wasn't saved. And, we were just living life, boyfriend and girlfriend, you know what I mean? Doing things boyfriend and girlfriends do. But when I gave my heart to the Lord, it was like, man, I want to be with him. I want to please God more. That was my heart. And so we had to have those uncomfortable conversations. So, and I could be honest, it wasn't even no surprise, sweet proposal. I mean, I got a beautiful ring and things like that, but it was like, what we gonna do? We got to go about this the right way, or we're not gonna be able. Like, I had my mind made up. Like, I'm not gonna keep going back and forth hurting God. I mean, that was just me. Even at a young age, I just knew I really wanted to please God, and so, prayed about it. And the date came, and it was
history.
So, I like that word. So, cousin, how old were you when you got saved?
I was actually 18. It was the same year when I had Trey. And when Trey was 3 months, I didn't even plan it. Like, I wanted to raise him up to know God. And I was taking him to church with me. And that day, I just literally went up for prayer, but I felt drawing. You heard that you can only be saved unless the Spirit draw you. The Spirit of God drew me. And when there was an altar call, like, my hand went up. It wasn't no plan more. Church tomorrow, I'm going to get saved. I mean, I was raised in church. I was made to go to Sunday school and all that. But that day, I don't even know why, but my hand just like went up, tears falling. I could feel burdens lifting up off of me. And I made that decision, and I didn't get it right the first time, so I've had to ask the Lord plenty of times to save me. But it was the first time at 18.
Wow. So Cousin Joe, when she came home with that and said, listen, okay, I'm saved now, like, we got to do this right. what was your thoughts? Because she's now saying, this is the decision I've made, Now she's bringing it home to you. What type of impact did that have on
I didn't want to jump to anything. I just had to let it sink in.
you?
I
Yeah.
had to deal with it. I had to deal with it, and just had to let it sink in, and wait, and just be sure, you know what I mean, and all that kind of stuff like that. But I just had to let it wait and let's take this process.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now you here, you married. Tell us what your first 5 years was like, right? Because people have this thing like the first 5 years is going to be the most challenging, right? I'm
Mhm.
kind of newly married myself. So, you know, people always say, oh, those first 5 years, those first 7 years, if you can get over that, if you can get over this, what do y'all think about that?
Well, let me go first. Well, I'm gonna say the first 5 years. I mean, you know, just the whole ordeal with, you start having kids, and it's just a lot, and then the credit situation, and then trying to get a house and paying your bill, getting everything in order. So it's a process. I mean, and it takes time and patience, understanding, and working together, and it's just take all this stuff is because this is brand new for both of us.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's a learning curve. You got to grow. It's serious stuff. It's serious.
But Joe, you just said something that hit. You said, listen here, like, okay, now we married, and what's the next step? And so let's dig into like priorities,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Let's get the house. Let's do this. Let's do that. Okay, this is this. Let's work together to get us where we need to be, right? So I'm already hearing like communication, right? Because I'm learning communication is much more broader than words.
Right.
A lot of times communication is action. You know what I mean? And so just listening to y'all say, okay, this is the situation. Let's work together. How was that? Because to me, y'all were young.
Mhm.
We were young. We literally grew up together. We were just talking about that. Like we've been together longer than we've been apart. So I was 22 when we got married, but I was 17 when we met.
Yeah.
And I was mature for my age, but he was a little hesitant because he was older than me, and he wasn't out, trying to, do anything. But he knew I was mature for my age, so we had those conversations. I introduced him to my mom. So there's a difference when someone's older than you, and I had just graduated and stuff like that. But so we had to grow together. I mean, it was stuff that we didn't. And most couples go wrong with this when they don't talk about finances. You don't talk about, credit or what you want. Like being married is more than just being together. It's more than that day. You said it earlier. Nowadays, everybody wants the wedding for the look so they can post it. You do your dance, you go on your honeymoon. Listen, it is work. We didn't get to 22 years being cute, being a cute couple. There were plenty of uncomfortable conversations. There were plenty of tears. There were plenty of conversations we didn't get right. We didn't handle them right. But I'm going to back up because I know you're going to ask us about a trying time in our marriage, but the most trying time was before we got married. Before we got married, and I had gotten saved, there's a different, things are different. We go from, being intimate to like, we can't do this, like, because I want to please God, you know what I'm saying? And there's no shame because we are in our now.
Yeah.
But he was in a situation that he didn't know God, and made a decision and had to live with it. But it affected me. And and I because we can't get around it. Like I'm not gonna paddle around it, so there was some infidelity, but we weren't married, like I said. And I ain't do second chances. This is how I know this is a God thing. I didn't do second chances. One time was all I gave. So I really had to get to the place of God. How do I, forgive this man? If we're going to talk about marriage, like, I don't want to go through this again. How do I know he's going to uphold, and be the man that I need him to be, right? And then, before we get married, we find out that there's a baby that's his. So I have to process this. I have to deal with pain, embarrassment, betrayal, and still look at him like,
Absolutely.
after praying and knowing that he was my husband. That's
Absolutely.
the thing. I knew he was my husband. And so I had to heal during these first 5 years too, and still enjoy the honeymoon stage and not keep throwing it, because when you forgive, you can't keep bringing it back up, you know, but there's reminders, there's triggers and all that. And so it was not just a process, it was a transformation. I had to be renewed daily. I had to ask God for help all the time and still, you know, try to be the best wife I could be, you know, had to learn how to communicate. We had to learn how to listen to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so here was one of the turning points. He came home one night and he asked me to come outside, and you had a song playing. You remember the song?
All the time I play songs.
But the one song, it was the TD Jakes love songs. And it was the song, matter of fact, there was a guy by the name of Jesse Campbell, and it was a song he was playing. And so he was like, just listen to the words. So I'm sitting there, because I went through the phase. I don't want you to touch me. I don't think, no, I didn't. I felt the dirty, like, I'm just being real. I was mad. I wanted him to hurt, wanted everybody hurt, you know what I'm saying? But I really wanted to heal. I did not want to be bitter. I didn't want to get married to get divorced. That was not the plan. I was in this. We was new. We said, I do. We're in this. Like, it ain't no back and forth. We ain't playing no games. We not sharing. Listen, we go about this the right way, right? So I'm sitting in the car and he played this song for me. And the song was called When God Gave Me You. And all I could do was cry, because listening to the words, like, it described our relationship, you know, and he has put in the work. When I say he has put in the work, he has proved that he's where he wanted to be. Because if not, he could have left a long time ago. I could have left a long time ago. So he has grown up. I've grown up.
But wait, cousin, I want you to hold that part, because what I understand is, and this is what I love, because like you said, everybody has, this is our now, but everybody has a then,
Everybody
right?
has a then.
And so I've watched Joe travel, and it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Where God has him right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so this is why I'm so excited about this show, because it's never about how you start.
Yeah.
Right? The starting can be a little rough at times, right? And you share so much into that. And I'm watching Joe sit there and be humble, and I'm watching how God, and I don't want to get too much into his now, because I want him to be able to share it. But I love when that scripture says that all things work together for the good, because I see who he is now in God. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It blows my mind.
Even, you know, and I know even with you sitting there sharing that, it's not the easiest thing to say, but that has made you an amazing marriage counselor without actually having the title, both of you, right? Because you have to, when you're able to survive, we ain't just talking about the good, when the money is right, when the kids is good, everything is well. No, listen here. It's the bad and the ugly that make you. It's the gutters of life. It's the valley experiences that make you. And I've watched what the valley experiences have done in your marriage, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And so I'm sorry about those years of pain, but I've watched God in both of your life turn that pain into purpose. It's amazing. And so what y'all, I don't even want to get too far into like to the end, but what I see is that what y'all went through is saving other people's marriages today.
Yeah. And it didn't feel like that at the time. You know, it didn't feel like that at the time, because, you know, there were times I felt like I'm drowning in pain and, you know, drowning. But he kept showing up. He kept, you know, he always been a hard worker, always been a provider, always been a hands-on dad, not just the type of dad that tell the kids what to do, but showing them. And we had to learn how to be a husband and a wife. Like there was.
Can we stop right there, cousin? Cousin, let's just stop right there, right? So here we are. We got these two individuals, because sometimes I think that's a lot of, as married individuals, we have to understand exactly what you just said right there. You got Ty and you got Joe. And now Ty and Joe need to learn how to be one.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is a challenge all by itself. Right? And you said we had to learn how to be husband and wife.
Yes.
I like that.
because a lot of times people will get married and you still act like you boyfriend and girlfriend. You need to communicate what you're doing, where you're going. As women, they don't want to hear that word submissive, but that's not a bad word. It's a more of an honor and a reverence. Like, I look at him, he's my king. Like, God is my king and Lord, but he really is the king of the house. And I had to learn how to be mindful what I say, how I say it, because I'm not his mom. You know what I mean? I didn't get a lot of things right, and so I'm glad that we allowed each other space to grow and get, because we two different individuals that had, like you said, had to become one. And that's why people need to understand, you can't just lay up with people, man. Them strongholds, strong ties, trauma, all that stuff is transferred. So God is so serious about the marriage. It is a covenant. It is not just, we get married for a show and for a look. It is so sacred and serious to God that he don't play about it. And so we realize that this is not a joke, because we're supposed to honor God with how we treat each other. You know what I mean? So if I don't treat him right, I'm disregarding what God said. If he don't treat me right, and here's another thing, men that are husbands, it is biblical. If you don't honor your wife and treat her right, your prayer's hindered. If we're not honoring our husbands, God is not going to bless anything that we put our hands to do, right? So it's more than a look. I need people to understand that everybody want it. And then for those that say it's just a piece of paper or a ring, that is not true. When you really want to regard God, you're not going to treat it like a piece of paper and a ring. You know what I'm saying? Because that's who we have to answer to. God. We stood before him, we made those vows, and we took them seriously. Like, it is not a game. It's not for the faint. And I say it over and over again, how it's not a show. It is.
But cousin, you said a word, and Joe, feel free to jump in wherever you want.
Right.
You said a word. You used the word covenant, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's all in how people view a thing, right? And I think sometimes that's how it's just so because I'm learning myself. By no means do I have this area in my life perfected. Right. By no means as a wife, but I'm striving to learn, right? And so what does that mean? That means I tap into my resources. I tap into individuals who've been married longer than me. You know what I mean? I tap into people who can give me wise counsel, right? Yes. Because I want to be a great wife. Right. But because I'm still learning, like Joe talked about that learning curve, like I'm still learning. And so what I'm hearing you say is like, it's a covenant. This is something, this is an oath. This is something that you took, before God. And in order to have a reverence for it in that perspective, you have to have a reverence for God.
You have to.
If you don't have a reverence for God, you can't have a reverence for the covenant, because you won't understand the covenant. Right. And so I love that part right there. Like, you just said so much. Joe, what's on your mind? I know you're ready. Tell me what you got to say.
Ready.
Right.
Mr. Ready right here.
Right.
That's
my concept for living, man. That ready, you said that ready, that's my concept for living. Ultimately, it gives life. And I just wanted to rub off on people. That's my concept.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know everybody, life is learning.
It is.
I mean, I always say this, in God's realm is 100 perfect. In this realm we always going to fall less than. So we always going to be a work in progress. So we got to grow. Nobody's perfect, so we just got to, just understand there's a God. We want to please him in all our ways. And as a man, do my sole responsibility, raise my kids and do what I got to do by my wife, and just live and prosper and take care of my responsibility.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really, well, you'll ask that, so I ain't gonna move too fast. I'll wait.
Wait, what does your shirt say?
Mine, wife life.
Oh,
wife life.
Let me find out.
Mine says energy.
Energy.
Yeah, I see you, cousin. Go ahead and represent that t-shirt. So let me ask you this question. So we talked about growing together, and growing pains hurt. Growing pains can be challenging, right? Because you're still trying to become one. And so what I'm hearing, even now, like 22 years later, as we grow older, things change, our mindsets change, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Our kids, because you guys have 3 kids together, 3 boys, right?
Mhm.
4
Mhm.
children all together. And so
Yeah.
with that right there, listen here, I love even that. I
Yeah.
think that's amazing, right? The blended family, you know, and that may not be the case with every married couple, but it's the
Right.
case with a lot of married couples today, right?
Mhm.
That blended
Mhm.
family, the blended family is hard. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's not something that's easy, but it's doable.
It is. It's doable. And there was a time all the boys lived with us. Even Khalil, he lived with us. It was years. And it was just, he was one of the boys, you know,
Yeah.
he wasn't treated no different, you know.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed them. Like we did a lot of things with them. But like I said, he was so hands-on and he's always been that way. And for him to have grown up without his mom or dad and no examples of marriage in front of him, really. I mean, he had older uncles that were married, but you know, but just to we had to learn this thing. We really did have to learn this. And so he was always been so hands-on. I mean, showing him how to cook, do laundry, pay the bills, you know, take care of the yard, the house, like all of it. He's never been the type of husband, well, this your job, you get in the kitchen, because he do 90% of the cooking, always has. He says it's gonna change, but he don't need to change, it's been working. But all the boys can cook now. You know what I'm saying? You know, they have seen what a man does. He shows up. He's always been hands-on with them, always show up supportive, not just financially, but he's been there for all of them, pouring into all of them. The correction, when it was hard, but he has been there. And I'm just so grateful, you know, to God. And, you know, he used to work so much, but now he's in a different place, even with that. And he'll talk about that when you ask him. But and that's the part of that growth. Like, you know, it was all about the money and the bills and all that. But now we on purpose. That's where we
because
at
I
now.
think as time changes, as we get older, as we become more mature, as we gain wisdom, especially in Christ, it makes a difference. You're gonna see change. There's no way in the world you can be in God and be wanting to live for him, right? I'm talking about know God, not know of him, but know God and not experience change in all aspects of your life. But Joe, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, you know, you're married, you got 4 boys, you know what I mean? Let's talk about, you know, what is important to you to demonstrate before them, and not just speak it out of your mouth, but the example that you choose to set before your sons.
Well, I'm big on, they have to find their purpose. I mean, it's not just them, it's everybody. Because I mean, I think that's the ultimate, I think that's God's gift to us to find our purpose. And it's like I'll be 50 years old next year. So, you know, purpose is everything to me. So I'm looking at it like, as time has changed, and a lot of people, they're not doing any soul searching. So I'm thinking a lot of them is just really acting in the flesh and not really acknowledging spiritual realm that's going to keep them grounded for their destiny. You know, they're not tapping into that. They are not, and that's why I'm so passionate about. That's why I wrote a book. You know, I got a song. You know, and I show my boys what's required of them. So it's just a lot. Purpose is the key, man. Purpose is the key. I really think if everybody found their purpose and then we supported one another, we don't need to ask the government for anything. You know, but purpose is, you think about it, when we was born, we had our purpose in us before we even knew who God was. We was born with our purpose. We was like, I like Miles Monroe said one time, he said we was born because of purpose, not to find it. It's in us. A lot of people distracted. And that's my number one rule.
Joe, that's heavy right there. That's heavy, because purpose has a lot to do with identity, right?
Yes.
I've witnessed you here to late talking to your youngest son, who's a well-known athlete, you know what I mean, and making his way, you know what I mean. You're starting to see him, and I'm proud of what he's doing. But I've heard you have conversations with him, like acknowledging that he's an athlete, but no, listen here, morals, values, like that matters, respect,
Mhm.
all of that matters. And I think that we need to be pouring that, especially
Yeah.
into our sons. We need
That's
to be
right.
pouring that. And so what you was actually saying to him, I get that you're an athlete, but these other things matter to me more.
Mhm.
Right. And so setting those standards and those boundaries, I think that's important. And having 4 sons, that's not easy, right? Not just 4 sons, but in the
A
midst of these
grand.
22 years, y'all got a grandbaby,
We got a
right? That's like
grand.
changed y'all's whole lifestyle.
yes.
You know what I mean? I've watched y'all's whole life shift for this grandbaby.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna say this before I forget. I don't want to forget. This is a valid point, but there's one thing in the Bible that stands out dear to my heart. When it says, "Be fruitful and multiply," most people are multiplying before they're fruitful. So fruitful, to my definition, is becoming everything you're supposed to become. And then once
Mm.
you become everything you're supposed to become, and now you can venture out and you can, meet that special one and you start multiplying. But if you start multiplying before you know what you're supposed to do, what good are you?
Yeah.
Listen, this was the joke. Oh my God, if this was 20 some years ago, we wouldn't even, oh Lord, anyway.
But
I'm
cousin,
so
let's talk
grateful.
about that. Let's talk about, because we heard you say you got saved first. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I heard you say for 10 years you was praying for your husband.
Man, listen, because I had it wrong. Like I wasn't shown or told, okay, once I got saved, I got to run to the church every time the church is open. I wasn't told my first ministry was home. That's first ministry. For anybody listening, your first work is at home. Your ministry is home. Your husband or your children, before you going out and trying to do everything for everybody else. And I had that wrong, and it caused some conflict, because I was gone. Or you know what I mean? Then if I come home and I don't have no energy for him, that's not fair to him. And I've been guilty of that.
Yeah.
And so, and God instituted family before there was church. You know what I'm saying? And so you do not neglect your husband. I'm not saying that there's never a time where, they have to be understanding and be like, oh, babe, well, I'm serving. You want to be doing what God wants you to do. But when you are married, this is your first work. It is. It is. And we have needs, and we need to take care of each other's needs, and everything isn't, in the bedroom or whatever, but even a mental, emotional needs. I've learned to be a big supporter of him. That's how we like, when he said he wanted to do something, I'm like, okay, babe, well, let's get it done. He's mentioned a book, help him get the book done. Anything that he desires to do, I'm his help. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to tear him down. I might question like, babe, well, what do you think about that? Are you sure? But not to ever discourage him. My job is to support him. And he does the same for me. He always says, babe, you just have star potential. You are really good at this. You're really good at that. And there was a video he was listening to of Miles Monroe. So many that has really helped the shift in his walk, right? One was when he was talking about the man finding his work. Remember that? And he said before he gets a woman, he was saying how the man is supposed to find his work. You remember that? The one with Miles Monroe. And then he was and then the one about being transformed. But anyway, my point even mentioning that was because when you were talking about the fruitfulness, that's on the same lines. Like people haven't found what they haven't started becoming, but they just want to go ahead and multiply. You know how it is.
But it starts at home. That's why
everything starts at home.
At home first when they're young.
Yeah.
So that's where we fall in on this trouble. That's why the world is the way it is.
Yeah, like it's so much dysfunction, and we really want to be a good example for our boys, not faking anything. They hear us if we never argue. That's one thing I can say. We don't argue. We've had disagreements. We've had dumb moments. I told you, I don't like dumb moments. We've had dumb moments where, it's a little quiet. What's wrong? It's wrong. You can feel it. So if something's off, we know when each other is off. But it's so much better when we're talking and we're able to, get through things. And
so let's talk about that, cousin, because communication is a big thing in a marriage. But let's talk. So I remember, you was like, I prayed for my husband for 10 years, and then Joe got saved. Right? Mm-hmm. And what was that like? Because what was that like?
Well, I ain't gonna say it felt different. I just didn't do foolish things. anymore. If that make any sense, but it's
Mhm.
everybody, like I said, everybody walk is different. But I went on and I committed myself, and I just didn't do foolish things anymore.
Yeah.
You grew up.
Yeah,
That-
just didn't do foolish things anymore.
That's how you sum it up. You
You know?
grow up.
Mhm.
Just didn't do any. I just put a lot of my focus in my work and soul searching and stuff like that, and seeing the bigger picture that I wanted for my boys. I wanted to be somebody that could be look up to,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's good. One thing about God, he gonna change up everything. Anything that we allow him to, he gonna
Dude,
change it
that's
up.
right.
Right?
That's
He
right.
gonna change it up. And so I know even with that step right there made a major difference in your marriage.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so you was talking about the communication, you call it dumb talks, right? My pastor like to call it intense fellowships, but even with that, so let's talk about communication, because you're gonna have times that you just don't agree. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so
It doesn't have to become an argument. It doesn't have to be where there's a door slammed or you walk out, you go sleep in the couch, you sleep in the bedroom. It doesn't have to be that.
We never had that.
No, well, we had some in the townhouse. Yes, we did. We had some silent treatment,
Oh, no,
but it was so long ago. So that's not something we
Yeah.
hold on to, Anyway, so communication is hearing each other out. Like, it's really listening, and it's not even about being right. It's not, understanding that we think different. Men think different than women. We do, but that don't mean we can't come to a common ground, right?
We're different species.
That's right, we are. But it's about peace at the end of the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't want to be walking on eggshells. We don't want the atmosphere in our home like, man, this is dumb. Like, I can't think of nothing but dumb. I don't like those dumb moments. But and communicating is even, we have a love language, I look at him a certain way sometimes, he look at me a certain way sometimes, and we know what that means. And then he holds, I hold his hand while driving. Well, he get to stop looking at me like that. But holding each other's hands, just listening, like really hearing each other out, and not assuming, because that's a part of communication too. Sometimes we assume that when I said that I meant it. I didn't mean it that way, babe. But no, you said, but I didn't mean it like that. So sometimes you do have to explain, and we should not feel like we don't need to explain ourselves. We are husband and wife. So if I say something and it don't sit right with you, let me know. Don't take that and days in, and then you want to bring it up, and I'm thinking we good. Talk about it when I say it's okay. You know what I mean? Because you feel that when you become one, you feel all of that stuff. You feel all of it. And I'll say this to not take up a whole bunch of time as far as communication. We know the Bible talks about love is patient and love is kind. Oh, that ain't talking about the strangers, the one that you with, the one that you laying out, the one that you committed to. Like, God holds us at a high standard. Listen, we might not, I ain't do a lot of stuff right, neither one of us, but we decided, number one, we put away childish things. It ain't about being selfish, and not about being right. I ain't trying to prove like I told you so and all that. We're not doing none of that. Right. You know what I mean? It's really just being supportive. It's really just being understanding and patient.
Yeah. And cousin, I remember something you told me earlier on in my married life. I'm still trying to catch up to y'all, right? I'm still in the single digit, Joe. I ain't made it to the double digit yet. But listen, you said something that has helped me tremendously, right? Words either hurt or help.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And when you spit them out your mouth, what is your motive?
And you can't take them back. Because what happened, I was on the phone with some individuals one day, and they're not married, but they in a relationship, and you could feel from the volume and all that was said, I was feeling, my spirit was almost vexed from it, right? And immediately the Holy Spirit said, if it don't come out in love, it's going to bring home. I was like, what? And I heard it again, and I kept hearing it, and I had to say that to them. I'm like, hold up, y'all, stop. The Lord just let it be known. What you're saying, your words hurt. They either gonna hurt or they're gonna help. That, you know what I'm saying? And so I took that. God was letting me know that too. Yeah, it applies to me too. But I was
Yeah.
able to share that and help other couples. And that's true, because you can't take it back. You can apologize, but you can't take it back. Because that sting, that's sometimes that stuff stings.
Yeah.
It can sting. And then you know what I mean, you can just only apologize. So you gotta be mindful. That's not wasting
Yes.
words.
And I
Think about
think,
it.
cousin, the minute you told me that, because I was one of those people, and still tend to be, I got to catch myself though, because if we're not careful, you are not hearing to listen.
Mhm.
Sometimes you want to be like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, in a
Ready to
marriage. And so
respond.
that doesn't help at all. I've learned that. You know what I mean? That does not help. But I've learned that when you are mindful of what comes out of here,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
when you, because the Bible talks about that, be slow to speak,
Yes.
right? And so the minute you said that to me, I'll never forget it. I was like, wow, that's deep all by itself.
It really
So
is.
if it's not going to be helpful,
It's gonna bring harm. It's gonna hurt you. Yeah, be
I
quiet.
would just be quiet, right?
Might
But
as
I used
well.
to, you know, people think that that's weak. You know,
Mm-mm.
I got shut up while he lived, or you know, vice versa. You know, he
That's
got shut
growth,
up because
cousin.
she too mouthy and all that type of stuff. No, we have to be conscious of the words that's coming. You know, this one lady told me when I first got married. She said, "I'm gonna give you 2 tools. The first thing I want you to understand that marriage is daily work.
It is.
Yeah.
Daily.
Daily.
He said
Yep.
it is daily work. It's not something that you work on once a week. It's not
Yep.
something that you work on monthly. It's not something that you just shine on and during your anniversary
Mhm.
period. It's daily work. You have to
Yep.
work on your marriage there. I didn't know what that meant until I got
Yep.
into my marriage.
Mhm.
The second thing she said, prayer will be your best friend.
Oh, you talk about it. And I'm gonna tell you what helps. We've learned to pray together. I love when we wake up and pray together. And I'm not gonna act like it's every morning. Sometimes we have to remind each other, but it's so beautiful. That's another form of intimacy. When we pray, we're covering each other. What? You know, I remember like a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling bad, and he came and prayed with me, prayed over me, like this got to go, this got to come off of you. And then went and got the things that I need. Sometimes 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, leaving out to go get whatever I need to help me, get through. He don't have to do that. I mean, he does a lot. Like, man, and people might say, that's your husband. He ought to know. He really goes above and beyond. And so I have to highlight that because he shows up in our marriage. Like he shows up from the yard work to the dog to what I'm serious. He shows up, and he said to me, God want me to take care of everything under my care. So that's our house. That's me. That's our kids, our grandson. My mom is here. He's really good with my mom. And I just love their conversations. And, it was his idea, like, your mom can come and stay, have her own space. Like, who does that? And just amazing man. Just once something done, it gets done, very hands-on. And it's just been amazing.
Yeah, because I like the scripture that you use. 2 Corinthians 13, I think that's what it is. Love is patient. Love it. That scripture right there will make you check yourself.
Yeah.
I've been there. You know what I mean? Like Joe said, it's you grow together, you learn how to grow. Sometimes it hurts, it's painful, you cry, that all of that is a part of a marriage. You know what I mean? And so that particular scripture, a lot of people read it at weddings, and you know what I mean? We just read it out of just like protocol or religion. But if you really check that, like, is your love really patient? Is your love really kind? What does that mean? Are you willing to endure with your spouse, with your mate? Are you speaking harsh out of your mouth to your mate? But you say you love her. Right. And so those things right there, and somebody might say, I do, right? I do love her, even though I may do this or I may do that. No, we got to check that.
Yeah, you're going to bring all that stuff in. You're going to bring all that stuff in. Because people make excuses for why they are the way they are and do the things the way they do. If it don't work, you need to change it. If it don't please God, you know that you need to change it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, but you have to be the one that's willing to do it. Yeah, but it's not a light thing at all. That communication, because when you can control your mouth, if you can control this,
listen here. And here's the thing, it's okay to say, I need fixing in that area, right?
It is.
Sometimes you don't realize where you're at in a thing until a situation happens, right? Oh no,
Mhm.
I need to learn how to control my anger. Oh no,
Oh,
I
yeah.
need to learn how to control my words. Oh no,
Yeah.
I need to learn, like, certain things will, but you have to be willing to change
Yeah.
and say
Yeah.
it's okay to change, right? Some people say, oh, I'm just like this. I'm gonna be like this till I die. Well,
Right.
something's
You'll
wrong
miss
with that.
heaven. You might miss heaven. Like
Yeah,
that.
something's wrong with that. You know, if we
Mhm.
look at a baby and that baby's crawling at 6 months, and at 5, that baby's still crawling and not walking, we say, wait, something's wrong with that, right?
Mhm.
No, even in our married lives, like, listen here, we have to constantly be willing to change, right?
Yeah.
So there might be certain things I don't do no more, but it's still a whole list over here that I still need to fix. And this is why it's so important to be around people who are positive and who
Yeah.
have the ability to be able to pour into you. And not only that, tell you where you're wrong, right?
Right.
And listen.
That's what I love so much about you, is the fact that you don't mind saying, now, Tonette, no, you might say, now, cousin, can I share something with you? Right, you got that. Joe, Ty got that real smooth voice, right? So I'm really loud and just obnoxious by nature. And Ty is like really soft-spoken.
I'm loud when I need to be.
And listen, in 40 years, I've never heard you be loud. Ever.
I cut something.
Not too much, but she it's this in there.
Oh, it's just like Prego. It's in there, right?
Yeah, it's in there.
But I love the fact that you're able to say, cousin, let me share something with you. And it's good stuff. And you're able to share. That's why I'm sorry to say this, but I'm grateful that y'all went through what you went through and survived it. Because y'all don't know, y'all are helping other people. Y'all are. So listen, I don't ever gotta be no wife.
Dang.
Being completely honest, I'm learning. I desire to be one, but I really don't. So I'm learning through people, first of all, through God, through the word of God, through people who've been there and done that, through people who don't mind sharing their testimonies, sharing their stories, you know what I mean? Positive people pouring in, people praying. I'm learning, right? And so I'm grateful for your Valley experiences, because they have truly, truly helped me and so many other people. Y'all are marriage counselors, like I said, without the title.
It's funny you
Wow.
said that. We've had a few couples that we have actually talked to, and we always make it plain. We do not portray to be counselors, but we just share, just some things that can help them, because you don't want to go into it lightly. It's really not a game. And I took psychology and sociology, so
Yeah. Listen,
I still, I don't know. All I know is my whole being, after what you said I do, was, God, I just want to please you. Because if I didn't have that mindset, we probably wouldn't be sitting here. It's real. We probably, because I wanted God to really show me what it meant to forgive. And I wanted to forgive right, you know what I mean? Because he's a good man. A lot of people have potential, but it's one thing when you live up to it. And he has lived up to it. There's a lot of women and men dealing with people that have potential, but they're not putting in the work. They're not living up to the potential. They're not getting it out. And so I can't say that I'm glad we went through what we went through. I'm not there. But I can say I'm grateful for where we are. This is our now. I'm sure people feel like there's things they wish they never went through. We don't understand, why even God, because God, I'll say this, God allows things, but he has a perfect will. So I know it wasn't a perfect will, but he allowed it, brought us out, and building us up and making us better. And that's what I live by every year and every day. Like, God, I just want to become my best self. I want to be a better person. That's why I'm not quick to respond. Never been scared, never been a punk. I've always just been mindful. God, I want to please you. As bad as Ty wanted to, in the flesh wanted to act up, I wanted to please him. I wanted to please.
Because, cousin, what happens is he who lives in you is overriding your flesh. Joe said he's different now. He grew up.
Oh,
because
yeah.
he that lives in him is overriding his flesh. Right?
That's
He
it.
has come subject to the Spirit of
Yeah.
God. When you
That's
come
it.
subject, God will check you.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
what happens is the longer you spend time with him, you build a relationship with him and you want to please him. It's no different than a kid wanting to please their parent.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
when you and Joe are at, I ain't gonna call him his nickname, at Kareem's game.
Baby. Baby.
Okay, you said it, not me. So when he watches this, Joe, he told me in Rehoboth, I really don't like that name, right? I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I respect that. But when y'all are in the stadium, and whether he's playing football or playing basketball, and he's either done scored or done whatever, to know that his parents are in the audience, in the stands, wherever, rooting him on, proud of him, bragging on him. Do you know, as a kid, how that makes him feel?
Yeah.
As a child of God, knowing that God is in our corner. He's in the stadium. He is rooting us on. He wants us to do our best. He's bragging. He talked about it in the book of Job. He's bragging on us. Right? And to know that we are pleasing him is an excellent feeling.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
means that you got to shut your mouth and not
Yep.
call him out his name, or you don't call her out her name. And to know that you please God, that
Yep.
listen, let the other one have the argument. You can have it, sis.
Mhm.
You can have it, bro. But to know at the end of the night that you please God. To know at the end of the day, and that's what y'all two are doing. You're striving to please God. And because you're striving to please God, ultimately you're pleasing each other.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Listen here, it comes
Yep.
together.
It does. It
Right.
does. Yeah, it does. And God has blessed us like tremendously, and not just with our home, but with our kids, they're not out getting in trouble. And we're grateful for that, Kareen is looking and dancing, but God has blessed our lives. He has enriched us. He's enriched our marriage. He has his hand has been upon us, and we know that we are to do a work together. And that's why people need to know, you got to know who you are hooking up with, because it's about a work, and we're together to do a work. It's funny because I was always doing all this stuff with youth, and Babe was just running the barbershop. Now all he talk about is the youth. Babe, we gotta reach them. So we're like, God did that thing. He brought it full circle where we're both going to speak to youth and pour into them and build them up. We got some things we're working on. Not going to share it prematurely, but just grateful to God for the doors he's opening, because we have allowed him to be God in our lives and lead us. And so we're grateful for that.
So, cousin, tell me something that you love about Joe. What is one thing that you love about him? I know you could name 1,000, but if you had to name one thing, what would it be?
The one thing is he really makes me laugh. Like, he really has a sense of humor. It's hard to say one, cousin, because that purpose thing got me. Him all about purpose and God has me locked. But he really has a sense of humor. Like, he is not quiet. Like, we be dancing around the house, we cut up. He really makes me laugh. He sings, and we really cut up. We do a lot of things together. But I'm sorry, you said one. But his sense of humor, how he looks at me too, I love that.
All right, cousin Joe, your turn.
She's God-fearing. I just can't imagine, being with somebody that's not God-fearing.
And I'm funny too, right?
Oh yeah, she's funny. She said one thing.
Look, she had to throw that part in there.
That's extra. That's extra stuff.
I know it's extra.
It's
I'm
extra.
thinking.
But God-fearing, man, that's like that trumps all.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Why do you say that? Why do you feel like that trumps all?
Because I mean, I
Because
feel like
there's a lot of people who feel like they don't need God in their marriage.
Well, I'm not one of them. Well, we're not one of them.
Yeah.
But it's a sense of going in the right direction. That's the way I perceive it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'll be 50 years old next year. I just don't have time to be, I just don't have time to be off course.
Mm.
You're not going in the right direction. Going the
Yeah.
wrong direction.
Yeah, I think with Christ, I can't stop saying it. Like he truly does make a difference. And as you're moving forth in ministry, because ministry is beyond the pulpit, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people think ministry is just about the pulpit. No, ministry goes beyond the pulpit, right? But going into schools like y'all do, dealing with the youth, like that's ministry,
Yeah.
right? Y'all have found some common grounds, and just like Joe said, it's been there all along. The
Yeah.
purpose has been there all along, right?
Mhm.
We don't have to go find purpose, right? Like he said, you don't have to go find it. It's there, right?
Mhm.
You just have to be able to identify who you are in Christ. And so now y'all have bypassed a whole bunch of the foolishness things and
Yes.
able to just focus on ministry. And I just think that is amazing.
Yes, it's really enjoyable,
It's fun.
Mhm.
It's fun.
We really do have a lot of fun, and
Mhm.
and that's the only way to really help your marriage. Like you gotta have fun. Mondays used to be our day. We would just ride, go pay our bills, go eat, just spend time. And so if we can't do a Monday, we'll try to find other days or whatever. But that time together, he always talks about the realms.
Oh yes.
He always talks about the realms, and he always says. Lately, he's been saying,
Three
"Hey,
rent. How many people on here?
I don't know, you can't see it.
Okay,
but
don't worry about it. I was going to share something, but I
just share about the realms, though. That part about just the only
I'm gonna see.
because you can't.
Whatever she want to ask.
Okay.
Miss
Whatever I
Hostess.
Mhm.
Well, I think I like what y'all just said, because this has like been an area since this is Rare Talk and we talk about things that are real, that balance thing, right? And to be completely honest, that's something I struggle with a little bit, because when you're kingdom minded, a lot of times the juices flow,
Mhm.
right? When you are a visionary, like you see,
They don't stop either.
but right, cousin, say it again.
When visionary, the ideas, creativity, that stuff doesn't
It
end.
doesn't stop, right? And it just, you can be sitting somewhere and you see something, you'd be like, and really, I know it's not of me, because
Right.
some of the stuff that I see, I wouldn't even be able to dream of. Some of the
Exactly.
stuff that God has allowed me to do, I would not been able to do. So I know it's God. But the key word is, and this is me, finding balance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so how do you, like, cousin, I heard you say, you're a singer, you know what I mean? You're a playwright, you've been in a lot of plays, you're a leader in the church, you know what I mean? And have been for a long time. You're a mom, you're a wife, you know what I mean? You have a job, like your plate, like we talked about when we first started the show, we were sitting at the table, Joe, and we was like, yo, our plates are full already. You know what I mean? Like you know how you got them sectional plates, but the stuff is like overflowing, like there's a lot, and we share so many common things, and that's what I love, right? But we talked about this thing that we even was starting to show, like, and cousin was really on me because I'm really bad with it. We gotta have balance. We gotta have balance. We gotta have balance. And so, how do you balance each other? How do you balance what you got going on in your life? Joe's a bar, he runs his own barbershop, you know what I mean? Very active with your children, up and down the road with your children. Joe does ministry himself, you know what I mean? Joe is an author, you know what I mean? He's out, I've seen him, a picture of you, cousin. I'm not sure where he was, but he was kind of like mentoring and talking to kids and all that. Like you got all of that going on. How do you balance it?
There is not like a perfect way. You really do have to be like, Lord, like help me with some balance and structure, right? You have to have days where you don't do stuff unless you just resting, getting refreshed, restored, just talking to God downtime, because the hustle and bustle, it'd be like so much stuff going on. I can honestly say with all the things on my plate now, I am less burnt out and on the go. It seemed like I'm still all over the place, but I'm not. But when I first started out, I was burnt out and I was everywhere and I felt overwhelmed. I do not feel overwhelmed. All this stuff, I don't feel overwhelmed because I know how to say no, and I know how to pray about things and, discern what not to do and where not to go now. And before I didn't, it was just an invite, I'm gone. Babe, hey, I got this invite now and it's not. And now, I want him with me, hey, what can we do together? I don't want to be where I'm always gone and he's home. And because it was a lot of that, him working a lot and I was always gone, so he had missed some things. But then, so now, but it's barbershop. Because you were 5 days a week or 6 at one time?
Oh, at one time, in the beginning was
Almost
it was
6,
every
7,
day.
almost every
I
day.
mean, it was almost like when I came home from barber school, I was
Mhm.
cutting hair Friday, Saturday, Sunday, working pressing forward, working overnight in the evening, and it
Mhm.
was just woof.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
So
It was
now,
a lot.
but God,
Mhm.
when you're doing what you're supposed to do, God will lighten it. And so
Mhm.
now 3 days a
Oh, I
week.
work 3 days a week now. I got a lot more time to put a lot of my energy in this magnificent plan the Lord has put on my heart.
Yeah. Yeah,
I like to make you
and
laugh.
even sitting down having the family meetings and discussions, that's necessary. We have them with
That's
our
good.
grandchildren.
Talk about
Oh,
that. Because here's the
Yeah,
thing, marriage is not, marriage consists of so many components,
so many.
so many
Mhm.
pieces. Like we've talked so far, we talked about the covenant, we've talked about growth, we've
Yeah.
talked about salvation. You know what I mean? We've talked about communication. We've talked
Yeah.
about balance, like just trying to learn all. And so each person consists of all these different components that we're talking about. And now you got two people in one house and you got to figure it all out, right?
And you know what,
Wow.
cousin, you cannot be jealous of each other, and in their giftings, you have to be each other's biggest supporter. You cannot feel intimidated. You got to be confident in who you are. And we balance each other. Like sometimes if we're out, people calling for appointments or whatever, nowadays he'll be like, no, I ain't working this day. I ain't working past that. He has set boundaries. And before he was just like, man, I'm just gonna cut till the money stop. You know what I mean? And his mindset has changed. Because he always says, I was fixing people up.
Oh,
I'll let you say that.
wow. Being a barber, it's just it's exterior. I'm thinking internal for longevity now.
Yeah.
Haircuts change all the time. I mean, I'll share that on the next one. But I'm just saying, like, the haircuts and hairstyles change all the time, and it's exterior. My desire with my book and my next mission is more internal. So this is, like I said, my concept is life.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what
and
I
so
really
we-
hear though, Joe, like you
Each other
really
else,
see
so.
he's really focusing on his spiritual work,
Mhm, mhm.
which is going to take care of the natural work.
Yeah,
That's
Right.
Lord.
I found that out. When you put God first and his
Yep.
stuff first, he takes care of everything else. You know what I mean?
Everything.
And listen, Joe, when we take care of God first, you saying you down to 3 days, he will send more clients in the midst of 3 days because you're
Oh.
taking care of
Yes.
his business than he would if you was open up 7 days. I know it to be true.
That's right.
It is true.
That's
It
true.
is true.
We
That's
cannot
true.
beat God. We cannot
Hmm.
beat him.
Not at all. Not
We
at all.
can't
It's
beat
crazy. It's crazy because if it wasn't for the pandemic, I probably still had my barbershop in Feathersburg. I probably still be working 6 days a week. And
But the Lord orchestrated
yeah,
that thing.
yeah.
He moved for us.
He shut the country down so I could work on this plan.
He always said, he said, man, the Lord shut everything down so he could have me home.
Yeah.
And then now focusing on,
But you know
the
what,
big
cousin?
picture.
Joe, you know what, for real, if a lot of us would grab a hold of that, we would all
Yeah.
see that.
You know
Yeah.
what? I did the math one day. I did the math. I did the math from when I first started renting. I did the math for my rent, and I did the math for my electricity. All my expenses over the years. If I just had a place to come from the beginning, I probably wouldn't have to work anymore.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
a lesson learned.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a lesson learned, and I
Yeah.
had to go through it to really appreciate where I am now.
That's good stuff. That's
That's great
good stuff.
stuff. You know
Because
what I mean?
I'll say this real quick, when it comes to like if husband and wives having schedules, y'all should talk about them together. Babe, what you got going on? Like do it ahead of time. So then when that day come, it don't seem like, oh, you ain't telling me, or I ain't know you had that. Like
Yeah.
you need to, like sometimes we'll just go get a hotel, we'll just go away. Like it's good to do that, or just taking a ride somewhere, or you really better make it intentional about spending time together. I'm serious. You don't want, and when you see something that ain't right, address it right away, work on it right away. Like if I said something and I came off too hard, babe, bring it to my attention. Then don't wait till a week later, then tell me like, I can't work on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Let me know. But it's not about looking for things and picking out, but how can we better, ourselves and each other? But that balance thing, you just have to set boundaries for real.
Yeah.
You can't tell everybody yes all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Cousin, you said something else. Y'all see why I love her, right? World, y'all listen here. What
Yeah.
y'all hear right now? Listen, I hear on a regular, and I'm grateful, you know what I mean? As I attempt to perfect this. And perfect means never be the perfect wife, as what Webster would say, but that's not even what perfection means. Mature. God, grow
That's
up
right.
and mature. Like, come on, Tonette. Like you know,
Mhm.
because even going from that singleness to marry is a hard step all by itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if you've been doing stuff your own way for
No
so
way.
long.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And then you step, and now I'm like, wait, you know. So
Yes.
even that right there, but once again, gotta be willing.
You
You
do.
gotta be,
have
you
to be
gotta
willing.
be willing. Yeah. And so,
Yes.
cousin, you said continuing to date, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
you've helped me so much, even just now, like being completely honest. Continuing to date. What do you mean by that?
Like the time together. I'm sorry, it don't everything don't have to consist of spending money. But because he always say, man, if we ain't somewhere making money, we out there spending it. But like he knows my favorite stores. If he take me to Marshalls, Ross, and TJ Maxx, I'm good after that. And and we need to spend how much money. We go get something to eat. Like it's just that time. It's time. He didn't want to mention the realm, but he often says, babe, this is the only realm, which is, I'll just say atmosphere, or where we can see each other, where we can talk. And because when we depart from here, we're not going to be together. So we want to enjoy it, not fussing, not angry. So going out to eat, we were at Olive Garden maybe a couple of weeks ago. Remember we got that some pasta or the soup or whatever. It was cold in there, but it was just to be with him. I look at his big eyes, we sitting across from each other. I'm just batting my eyes at him, like just getting out. You know, we were we were in Ocean City with October, I think, and you were sitting up. He had your feet propped up. He just wanted to look at the water, and I was like, okay, we're gonna get a room where he could just sit and look at the water and just chill. We went out to eat that night and came back. We rested. Like, I mean, just dating, remembering your why. You got to refresh that thing because everything is in the beginning.
Wait, cousin, what you say? I want to make sure we caught that. You said remembering your why.
Yeah, everybody talks about remembering your why when you start a business, but you need to remember your why. You said
That's
I
good.
do,
That's
and
good.
that you those vows, because people are not upholding their part of the vow. That's why I don't really get into. I love weddings, but the wedding is really for the guests. The marriage, that's
Yeah.
the two that decide to become one, and that
Yeah.
that three-strand cord, God has
Yeah.
to be in the middle, and people don't have him, God, in the middle. They really don't.
Yeah.
And you can see because now they feel like they can't reconcile. Well,
Mhm.
when people can't reconcile, that means it's pride, ego, or somebody don't want change.
Mm.
It's pride, ego, somebody don't want to change. But when you got willing people that are willing to change and keep God in it, man, he
Yeah.
can bring it out and really bless your life around.
And let's talk about this, like, because this is an important topic. It really, really is. And cousin, you know, our thing is to throw people a line of hope. That's
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Like, cousin, I don't know who's gonna listen to this. We might be helping to save somebody's marriage today. Like, we really don't know. And so I'm grateful. But let's talk about not being afraid to ask for help. Now, granted, I do believe as a married couple that you have to be careful, you know what I mean, with
Yeah.
who you share your stuff with and
Yeah.
who you seek counsel with, you know what I mean? You know, everybody can't speak into your marriage, you know what I
That's
mean?
right.
But
That's right.
I do not believe that you should be fearful or pride, right? My coworker just told me the other day that pride stands for people resisting individual deliverance from evil. When you are prideful, you are resisting deliverance. You are blocking it. You're saying, I don't want it. You're saying, get it away from me. You're saying, I like being like this. I was born like this. I'm going to die like this. I've always been like this. I ain't changing for nobody. Nothing's healthy about that. If you really want to know the truth, because just like Joe said, even now at being almost 50 years old, he doesn't have the same mindset when he was 22.
That's right.
Marriage now at the age of 43 and 49 or 44, sorry, 44 and 49 has to look totally different than when y'all said I do 22 years ago.
Oh, yes. Oh my,
it has to look totally different.
Totally different. Yes. Oh,
the
my
only
God.
way now that it looks different, some change had to take place, you know. And so let's talk about that. Not being fearful to ask for help. Listen, me and my husband, me and my wife, we in a tough place right now. I need help.
And you know what? I can honestly say we didn't have, before we got counsel before marriage. I don't think we've had to have counsel while we were married. We literally counseled ourselves. Like we really just
Communicated,
talked it out, prayed, cried, found some scripture or whatever. I mean, I think I've talked to his sister before because she gives sound,
Yeah.
advice. She's gonna tell me no opinion. She's gonna tell me what God said, and that is it. And so, but I really haven't had to seek it out. There was a couple that I knew of that I really looked up to. I loved how they would call each other sweet little nicknames, and we always have nicknames for each other. But I just thought it was so cute. They would be on the phone. She'd be like, "Hi, honey," and I was like, I ain't never heard somebody call her. But I'm always calling her, "Hey, babe," "Hey, hon," or we call each other love and all that. But it looks totally different from when we first said I do. But it's what we make it. That has always been our, not really mantra or a motto, but our marriage is what we make it. There were people that said stuff to him before he got married. "Man, I don't know if you want to get married, you're going to be like," get away from marriage bashers. And I ain't gonna say you don't want to hear from those that are not together anymore, because they may have something they can share with you, but you do have to be mindful who you're talking to. Everybody don't want to see married couples together. Everybody don't like it. There are women that don't care if a man is married. There are men that don't care if a woman is married. They will still shoot their shot, throw themselves at him and all that. But when you realize that covenant, we ain't playing here. I'm gonna share this with you because I remembered it, but I ain't gonna take long. I met this woman that was married. I don't even remember where I met her at. I think I was like at a book club or somebody's house. And she was talking about this woman was intentionally pursuing her husband, and she was hurting. She was just praying. That woman, God took her out. He took the woman out that was fooling with her husband, because God is serious about covenant. And why did I share that? Because if people gonna play, because there are people that will get married but still do their mess, living a double life and all that. Everything comes out in the light. Everything. We can't get nothing past God. Everything come out. Now people got DMs, inboxes, texts. Guess what? God will show you. God even showed me in a dream what had transpired before we got married. The Lord showed me it in a dream what happened. God will reveal stuff to you when you're close to him. But tell people, don't play with it. Do not play with it. It is serious. It is so serious.
But I like also what you said when you said that you was talking to your friend on the phone and you would hear your friend say, or they would say, "Hey, honey," or whatever. And you like, wait, but mine don't say that. We, even in that part right there, we got to be careful because we will tend to compare.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned over time is that folk will show folk what they want to see, and so that's why I never really compare, because anybody can make anything look good. Facebook is known for that. Okay. Listen, I'm so not caught up on what I see on Facebook because Facebook is nothing but an image. Okay. And so I ain't knocking people for what they post on their own pages. That's completely up to them. What I do know is that marriage is work and marriage is real. And I'm not saying that all days are bad. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, no.
Right? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't post on your page, but what I'm saying is I never really get caught up on what somebody else is doing, right? Because people have, like I said, they can butter it up. They can do whatever. I'm not saying you're supposed to air all your stuff out on Facebook either. I don't believe in that social media, sharing all that. I don't believe in none of that type of stuff, right? Listen here.
That has helped us. That has helped us in our marriage, not going to people with our business, putting everything out. We don't blast each other out, like a lot of stuff, because I didn't even get on Facebook when it first came out. Like I took a long time, but I like to share highlights, good things, you know what I mean? Because if we're going through something, it's between us and God anyway. Now, if he give us the liberty to share it, to help somebody, but it's not a show and it's nothing to fake, we love on each other. We really do. Right. And if we have a moment, it's going to be a moment. We're not going to make that moment a season, because that's where couples can go wrong. You have a bad moment. Instead of you working on it, it becomes a season in your marriage. Really,
let's go there. Listen, and so to our producer, it's Ty's fault. Okay. Listen,
part two.
No, hold on. So listen, when we get the message, I'll be like, it's Ty B's fault, right? But no, this is good. This is good. I because I like what you just said right there too. That was like so deep. You said something may happen. Let it last for a second. Don't make it a season.
Yeah.
What do you
You
mean
can
by
make
that?
it a season, because even when Trey and Deja had their accident and baby passed away, I was in a dark place, depression, whatever. I was supposed to lead service, didn't want to be there, didn't want to sing, I didn't want to hear anything. And the Holy Spirit said to me, don't make a moment a season. And what he let me know is things gonna happen in life, a lot of things that we have no control over. Okay, we can cry, get it out, but I don't have to stay there. You don't have to remain. So if you hit a hard place in your marriage, you don't have to stay there. You figure it out, and if there's no resolve, then you seek some help. You got, come on, we got to be wise with it. We're not
That's
supposed to
good.
be foolish. We're not supposed to be foolish.
Right.
We're supposed to be wise. So if I dwell on something that ain't right, or if I keep doing the same old thing and it ain't right, I done made that thing a season. Even grief can be a season. You know what I mean? So those moments, I don't like them dumb moments. I don't want no season of dumb moments. No, let's get it right. Let's hash out all that. Let's get all that uncomfortable, dumb stuff out of the way. Because I'm gonna tell you something. The enemy doesn't like unity. He doesn't like the covenant. So he always gonna try to bring that conflict between husband and wife and the children and those closest to you. Come on, y'all know the word. Always. So why are we not beating him at his game? Why are we letting him infiltrate and come in and mess in when we know that's his plan? He's not happy that we made it to 22 years and still counting.
So wait, cousin, another nugget. Yo, you dropping them tonight. Both of y'all are. Listen, you said the enemy doesn't want to see unity. So he's going to do whatever to separate,
Exactly.
right? So you said, why are we not beating him? Why are we not going at him? Because oftentimes we go at each other.
Exactly.
We fight,
spouses
fight one another instead of fighting the instigator. The instigator, right?
The instigator.
He is an instigator.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
He is the one that's coming in and causing chaos and confusion. It's the spirit behind either spouse that you may have an issue with or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
The enemy is behind that. And so that's a good point right there. You know what I mean? Go after the instigator. Go after the troublemaker, put him out.
How do you beat them? Being lovey-dovey, kiss on each other, compliment each other. How would you really talk? Like, I brought him some lunch today, baby. Was surprising him. He surprised me all the time. He always come in the house with my favorite things. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm thinking something and he comes in the house with it or he says it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how close we are together now. So how we beat the enemy? Babe, we gotta pray, because I know this ain't even right. You know what I mean? We know that we had a moments, you know what I'm saying? We realize it, like, man, I'm telling you. So sometimes we don't always have breakfast together, but because I get to work from home a lot, we get to spend a lot more time together. I'll go ahead and do my emails and he'll answer his calls, and then we come back together. We get a lot more time, together. But we able to beat the enemy, because if we're apart all the time and we're not communicating, the enemy has a field day. If we haven't reconciled, if we go to sleep angry, that's the foothold for him to get in. You know what I mean? And so you just have to put him out.
But I think a big thing for me, since we being transparent, is just apologizing. Yo, humble yourself and apologize, right? No, check yourself. Yeah. Right. That was that thing right there. But I'm glad the Lord is dealing with me like that, because I don't want to be this jacked up person. Like, I really, a lot of us are jacked up. A lot of us are dealing with the inner us, the inner me.
Us.
They say the enemy, the envy. Inside of me, we're dealing with the ugly parts of ourselves. Yeah, you. Yes, you know what I mean? Yes, husband. Yes, wife. Whoever you want. We have to deal with the inner parts of ourselves. And sometimes they not pretty, right? Because a lot of times how we've been raised, what we've been taught, you know what I mean? How our parents may have felt, how our parents view life, or whoever our guardian was that has raised us plays a major influence on our life. Yes. Some of the stuff that I used to say, right? And that I heard it growing up. Some of the ways I used to act, I seen it growing up. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore I brought all of that stuff with me into my marriage. Right? And so as time goes on, Joe, as God checks me, whether it be through an intense fellowship or whatever, you know what I mean? If you are true with God and allow him to be true with you, he will convict you.
Mhm.
It will.
He will make you be like,
We
no,
both-
like, go ahead, cousin.
I was just gonna say, we both had to, babe, I'm sorry, didn't come out right, just apologize, he's had to do that plenty of times, and I've had to do the same thing, and then
That's
wake
humbling.
up and we keep it moving,
Yeah, that's humbling. And being willing, I guess, to let it go. Right.
Mhm,
As women,
yeah.
sometimes, and Joe, you can speak for men, but as women, sometimes we hold on to stuff, man. Like that's
Yeah.
somebody just told me something happened the other night. I was doing something and I was sharing it with somebody, and she said to me, okay, that was yesterday, you can let it go. Right. But I wasn't ready to let it go, cousin. But when she said it, I'm like, wait, hold up. The Lord done let me wake up this morning. My kids are good. My health is good. Like, what bringing that into another day, right? And so from that point, I said, okay, done. But once again, it matters who you sitting at the table with. Okay, it matters who is feeding into your ear, who you're having wholesome conversations with. That's why I don't like doing all that little dumb gossip stuff. It don't get you nowhere. No, let me sit with somebody who is able to pour into me and make me check myself. Because ultimately, I'm just going to be a better being, not just for God, but for my husband. You know what I mean? For my children. Even as a mother, I've had to go back and apologize to my children.
Oh, yeah. Same here. Mm-hmm.
I've had to go back and say, listen, y'all, mommy did not do that right. Mm-hmm. Mommy did not say that right. I was wrong for that. You know what I mean? But I had to learn that because I was raised. You know what I say? Right? And she watching, cousin. If she watching, I'm gonna hear it in the end, right? I'm gonna get the phone call tonight. What you were saying,
sorry.
Right? But I was raised, you do as I say and not what I do.
Right.
But to me, growing up, Joe, that's weird. You know, that don't make sense because as parents, we are the influencers in the house. So how you gonna do so? And I'm not saying that she was like this parent who did crazy stuff in front of me, but that's what they believed back in the day. I'm the parent and you do what I tell you to do and don't worry about what I do. That just doesn't make sense to me. And so therefore I had to break that in my own home when I became a mom, so so life is all about changing. Life is all about, Joe, as you say, self-evaluation, self-reflections, you know what I mean? And because every day we should desire to want to grow.
That's it.
And be better.
We're vessels.
Yeah.
We're just going to be used by good or bad.
That's good, Joe.
Yeah. So
Joe, say that again, Joe.
We're vessels, so you figure if God is in the spiritual realm and the spiritual's in us, we either gonna let the adversary use us or let God use us.
That's it.
No, as Maury Povich say, who your daddy? Who is your daddy? Right? Who are you going to let influence you the most? That's good stuff. Listen here, it's been a blessing to be able to watch y'all grow. And so I love when I'm able to witness it with my own eyes. That's why I know God has truly done it. It's amazing. I love both of y'all. I'm excited to see where God is going to continue to take your ministry as a whole. You know what I mean? It's amazing. Y'all's kids is growing up. Y'all about to be empty nesters and stuff like that. Right. And I just believe, no empty nesters. Ty, you like me.
They don't have to. I want them to do things. I want them my thing is be where God wants you to be. I want you to fulfill purpose. It ain't about them being all across the world. No, I want them to know what they're supposed to be doing.
Make sure they're ready. Make sure they're ready.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Joe. That's a good point. And cousin, you already know I'm for that. You know, I already say I want the Greenleaf house and my kids can have a quarter. Yeah, the Greenleaf house. Everybody have a quarter. Everybody come to meet for dinner, then going back to your spaces, right? But I like what y'all said because we think a lot of times, and once again, this is all about a marriage. We feel like, oh, the kids grown, put them out. And that's the problem with a lot of the world. You know what I mean? Oh, just throw them out. They 18. What that number mean?
18, like a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Most of the time it's like that.
Yeah.
You figure when we were in our 20s, we didn't necessarily always make decisions that 20-some-year-olds would make. You know what I mean? Even at 30, so as maturity has to take place. That's and Listen, that's a whole nother thing.
Cousin, at 40, I struggle with decisions. You hear what I'm saying? So I definitely get that. But what I meant, like, as far as the empty, y'all babies are growing up, right? And so I know that's been a big ministry alone, just with raising your boys and just being supportive to them in their dreams. And, you know, and I'm watching y'all parent them at different levels. And that's what I love. Like, you love all three, but, you know, you understand that all three, I mean, four of them need you in a different way. You know what I mean? And I don't want to leave Khalil out because, you know, I've watched Khalil come to family gatherings and all of that. And cousin, I love how you have embraced him, and he's doing great himself. You know what I mean? It's great to hear the good things that he is doing as well. So I'm just excited to see what God is going to do in the marriage of the Boldens. And so listen, we're going to end the show. If y'all can give any advice to anybody, Joe, first starting with you, what would you like to say?
I want to paint a picture first.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
I'm gonna try to do it so the viewers can understand it and see how serious life is.
Okay.
All right. So, and I want everybody to think about this individually. So you think about everybody when they came in this world by themselves. So you think about since God started creation, you figure thousands of years to get to their existence. All right. So you got all these years to get to their existence, tens of thousands of years. And then you got your departure date. So we don't know when that is. So somewhere is going to be between 0 and 100. So they got the departure date, then you got the eternity. So we got a small window to make the necessary change that's necessary for this world.
Joe, listen, do you know when I caught that revelation? I have to be honest with you. When Kobe Bryant died, and I was looking at his sunrise and his sunset date, and my eyes went to the dash. And I actually preached a sermon on the dash. You better live out your dash, because we don't know what date is going to be on the other side of that dash. We don't know our sunset. So it's important.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but, and see, that's why it's so important with me, because I refuse to live my life, live here, die here, and be buried around the street without making the necessary change for my kids. I wouldn't want to be on my deathbed and look with my kids and I'm not preparing them. I would feel like in front of God's eyes that I failed, and I don't want that.
That's heavy. That is heavy.
Yeah, that's serious stuff, because that's a desire of mine. So I'm thinking, like, that's why it's so important to me for my kids to see. I need to hear, like, Dad, thank you. I need to hear that. So if I'm not hearing it from them, suspect a little bit. I need to be reassured, you know. So I need to see them. I need to know they got it. I need to know they're ready. I need to know the word. Before I leave this earth, I want to look up and down, and I feel in my heart that I want to hear God say, "Well done, my servant."
Listen, we could end the show right there, because that is my thing. I'm living to hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And Joe, in order to be able to hear that later, we got to live right now.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so
go ahead.
No, so what I like what you're saying, because it's about purpose. We have to take advantage of the now.
Oh yes.
That's it.
That's good stuff.
It is. I mean, because I feel like I think about what Jesus. Jesus was a man, so my purpose, I think about what he did, and I'm trying to, if I believe in him, I gotta follow his ways and be a help to others rather than just myself.
That's good stuff. Cousin, that's good stuff, girl.
It is. So I get to hear his I get to hear the sermons all the time. I'm the first one that gets to hear him. I'm like, yes, thank you, Lord, bless the Lord. And I can attest to what he's saying. It is true. At the end of it all, it's all about purpose. But I will say this to any couples out there, whether you're married or you desire to be married, you know, this is what God honors. Because we live in a time where anything goes. And that's not, if we want to please God, you can't live like that. Anything goes, marry whoever you want to marry, be whoever, do what you want to do. No, and think He's gonna bless it. He's not. So those marriages, don't take them lightly, get the help. If you need help, ask for help, but remember your why, enjoy it, like have fun, create memories, like, it is what you make it. You think about all that money and time you invested in planning in that big day. Come on now. It's about pleasing God, and it is a beautiful thing, and that's what God honors. He does not honor the common law. Listen, I ain't getting into the common law, but people think because they've been together for so long that you just be together. No, go about it the right way. Let's do it God's way. I'm going to end with that. Let's do things God's way so we can please Him, and make change in the world.
Well, as the host tonight, Ty C, I would just like to thank the host, Ty B, and her husband, Joe, for being a part of It's Rare Talk. Thank y'all so much for your transparency. Listen, I know y'all helped somebody tonight. First of all, you helped me, okay? As y'all was talking, because if you want to be a better person, like Joe, that he kept saying, a self-evaluation, you have to do a self-evaluation, and God is still using people. He's still using people to help and to build and to empower another person. And so I know that y'all truly help somebody on tonight. Once again, I'm excited about what God is going to continue to do in your life. I'm so glad that y'all are my cousins, so I get to see it firsthand. Absolutely. So to all of our viewers, thank you so much for hanging out as we talked about seasoned marriage. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you for being a part. We are getting ready to conclude our first season, so we are definitely excited about that. Listen, y'all, if you haven't had a chance to catch up on, we're getting ready to be on our 13th episode. So if you have not had a chance to check out our 13 episodes, listen, they all will be available to you very, very soon. We will be in the beginning of 2023, we will be airing on television. So we definitely are excited about that as we get our ducks in a row, cousin. Listen, God has done some great things for us in such a short period of time. I remember when we was working on it at your house, Joe was like, just get it done. You know what I'm saying? Stop talking about it and just get it done, And so we thank you for your support, as well as my husband's support, being behind the scenes and allowing us to be able to do what we need to do for our show. We are definitely excited. So listen, guys, if you are not following us, please make sure you follow us on It's Rare Talk on Facebook. We will soon be on Instagram as well as YouTube. As we begin to promote our show on our cable television stations, we will be sure to let you know that as well. Listen, if you are interested on being a part of It's Rare Talk, you have something that you want to talk about, feel free to send us a message at
itsraretalk@gmail.com.
Absolutely. That's going to be an inside joke forever. Listen, Joe, get tired to tell you about it behind the camera, right? So once again, we thank you so much for hanging out. And until next time, it's rare, authentic, real experiences with Ty B and Ty C. That's what it is, y'all. Have a good one.
Are you ready? Are y'all ready? Because it's rare talk. It's rare talk. Ty B, Ty C. Hey, it's rare talk. Rare, authentic, real experiences. That's what it is.